Today, let's start with RSA algorithm, right? So RSA is an asymmetric algorithm. The full form of RSA is actually, this is the initial of surname of the three persons who have actually invented it in 1978, and those people are, so let me write their name or their surname. So R is the initial of a person whose name was Ron Rivest. Okay, Rivest is his surname. There is another guy whose name was Adi Shamir. Okay, so the surname is Shamir. S was taken from there, and A was taken from Eldman. The name of this person is Leonard or something like that, right? So these three are the surnames of the three people who have invented RSA algorithm in 1978. The concept was based on asymmetric key crypto system. This type of algorithm was already proposed in 1973 by Clifford Cox. Okay, they developed based on same similar Sisto system, but till that time it was not classified as such. Okay, the idea here is to make exponentiation in the encryption. Okay, so there are lots of a huge state space so that it is difficult to crack it. Okay, now, the security of this particular algorithm actually relies on the difficulty of factoring large numbers, large composite numbers. Okay, it is difficult to factor large composite number, and the security of this algorithm depends on that, right? So we will see in a minute that what I mean by this. But before that, let me tell you few important concept that is needed. Okay, so mean by co-prime number, two numbers are co-prime of each other if the greatest common divisor of the two number is 1. Okay, or you can call it as HCF. HCF of two number is 1. We call these two number as co-prime number or mutually prime numbers or relative prime numbers. Okay. Now, what do we mean by this particular sentence? It relies on the difficulty of determining the number of numbers which are relatively prime to a large integer n. Suppose there is a very large integer n. It is difficult to find out how many numbers which are less than this number, they are co-prime with n. Okay, so it relies on this difficulty. So in a minute we will cover that particular topic in a bit detail, right? So for now, let's keep in mind that co-prime, mutually prime and relative prime are one and the same thing, right? Where the common factor of these two number is only 1, right? Now you might have heard about Euler. Okay, Euler gave quite a few principle, very important principle, and one of his principle is Euler totient function. Okay, it is also known as phi function. It is represented by phi, Euler's phi function, right? Now, what do we mean by this function, or what this function actually do was, this is a record of numbers which are less than n and they are relatively prime to n. Okay, relatively prime is no factor is in common. So this particular function represent this, the value of this function represent total number of positive integers which are less than the given number n, and they are relatively prime to n. Okay, so let me take an example and explain. Phi of 10 is 4. The value of phi 10 is 4. Why? Because there are four numbers which are less than 10 and they are co-prime with 10. Okay, so if you find GCD of 1 and 10, it is only 1. GCD of 2 and 10 is 2. It is not 1. Okay, therefore this is 2 is not considered as or counted in the totient function, right? Whereas 3 and 10, the GCD is 1, so we can count this, so on so forth, right? So but this will actually not this number, the function does not return this number, the function return the number of such numbers, the total number of such co-prime numbers. Okay, so here the answer is 4. right? So let's take another example. If we have to find the quotient value for 21, then you have to calculate it like this. You have to check all the numbers which are smaller than 21, and they are at the same time co-prime with 21. Okay, so there are total 12 numbers. So the value returned by the function is 12. Okay, so this is what Euler's quotient function is, right? There is an important property that I would like to mention here, which says that if a number is prime, so suppose if P is prime number, then the value of the quotient value of this number is equal to P minus 1. Okay, because the number is prime, it has only two divisors, one and the number itself. There are no other proper divisors of that number, and therefore the total number of co-prime numbers which are less than P will be P minus 1. Okay, so this is an important thing that you can remember. Now we can find out the value of this as well. So for example, if you have to compute 5 of 10, one way is to go and check for each and every values which are less than 10. Okay, other way is actually Euler's quotient function holds this property. So suppose there are two numbers P into Q. So the quotient value of P into quotient value of Q is equal to quotient value of P into Q. Okay, so this property holds. And we have learned one more property, that if the number is prime, then its value is P minus 1, right? So by using these two properties, we can find out the value or the quotient value for any number. So let's do the same for, let's say, 10. So 10 can be written as 2 into 5, right? So the value, quotient value of 10 could be quotient value of 2 into quotient value of 5. 2 and 5 both are prime numbers, so the value is 1 into 4, right? P minus 1, Q minus 1, that is 1 and 4. It gives us 4, right? So same you can do with every number. You can factorize the number and you can individually find out the values of such number. Okay, so now let's see the actual algorithm, right? So let's talk about RSA algorithm. Now RSA algorithm has 3 important steps. The first step is key generation step. You have to generate the keys, the pair of keys, public and private. This is the most important step. Okay. The second step involves encryption, how to do encryption of the data. And then the third step involves decryption. Okay, how to decrypt the encrypted data. So these are the important steps. So the first very important step is key generation. So let's see how keys will be generated according to this algorithm. Now I would like to remind you here, since we are dealing with asymmetric key encryption. Okay, in case of symmetric key encryption, any one of the communicating parties will choose a random key or any key, and that key needs to be shared with the other communicating party, right? But here, since there are two different keys that will be needed for encryption and decryption, both the keys will be generated by the person himself, and then one of the key is shared in public and the other thing we have to keep as a private property. Okay, so therefore we have to generate the key as a part of algorithm only. Okay. Now how to generate key? So for that you have to choose two large prime numbers. The more high the value of prime number is, or the larger value of prime number is, the more security your algorithm will have. Okay, so you have to choose really large prime numbers. The practical numbers that are chosen are actually of 1024 bit long. Okay, so you have to choose a really long number, large number. Okay, so this is the first step. Choose P and Q, which are prime number and they are large. This is first step. As a second step, you have to do product of these two numbers, and that will become the value n, and n is an important value that we will going to use in future. Okay, what is n? N is a product of the two prime numbers that you have chosen. Okay, this is the second step. In the third step, you have to find the value of phi n. You have to find the quotient value for n. Okay, and since these two are prime numbers, the value will be p minus 1 into q minus 1. So easily you can find these two values. Right? So till this step, is it clear? As a first step, we have to select prime numbers. As a second step, you have to take product and then find the quotient value for that product. Okay. In the next step, you have to select another number, that is e. You have to select a number that is e, but this should satisfy few properties which are important. First of all, e should be less than n. You get the value of n by taking product of p and q, the chosen numbers. You have to choose e such that the value of e is less than n. Okay, obviously it will be greater than 1, right? Rather, I will say it should be relatively prime to phi n. So you can choose a number which is less than phi n, the value of phi n, and it is relatively prime to this number. It is relatively prime to this number. Okay, so this already implies this particular equation, right? So let's say we choose such e which satisfy these two properties. The value lies within this and the value is co-prime with phi n. Okay, now what? So we have e now with us. E also is an important element of our keys. Okay, as a fourth step, you have to compute d. Now you have to compute d using this particular formula. Okay, you have to put the value of the chosen e and then you have to take mod with phi n equal to 1. So this is the equation. You know e, you know n. You have to find the value of d, some value of d. Okay, there could be many values of d, but you have to agree on a particular value of d. Once you do that, this will now become your private key. This is an important part. Now this d is, which is computed using this formula, will become your private key, and e comma n will become your public key. E comma n will become your public key. Okay, and this d will become your private key. And this is how keys are generated in RSA algorithm. Okay, so let me quickly revise the steps for you. First, you have to select p and q prime numbers. Then you have to multiply these two numbers. You will get n. You have to find quotient value for n. Then you have to choose a e such that e will be co-prime or relatively prime to the quotient value of n. Then you have to compute d using this particular formula. Okay, and all these steps will actually give you two keys, pair of keys, right? Public key, which is e comma n, the number chosen comma n, and private key is what you have computed using e and n, right? So this is the first step, key generation step. Then you have to encipher the text. So you have this plain text message. You will use public key. Suppose you are using public key. So you will use public key, first part of the public key. You will raise the message by e and then take mod with n. This will give you the cipher text. And at the deciphering process, you have to raise the c by d. D is the private key. So if you remember, if the message is encrypted using public key, it will be decrypted using private key. And vice versa is also true. If it is encrypted using private key, it will be decrypted using public key. Okay. So the cipher text, you have to raise the power by d, that is a private key, then mod n will give you the actual message. Okay. So with that, let me take one simple example and we will see that whether we can generate a such pair of key and whether it will work or not. Okay, so let's take one simple example and run through these steps. Okay, so let's first generate a simple key pair. Okay, so first we have to select two prime numbers P and Q. Let the value of P will be 17 and let the value of Q will be 11. Okay, both are prime numbers. What will be the value of N? Value of N will be P into Q, that is 187, 17 into 11. Okay, so this is one thing we got. Now what we have to do is we have to find quotient value of N. Okay, so quotient value of 187 will be puts the value 187 and this will become 17, so 16 into 10. Okay, 160. This is the quotient value, right? So we get the quotient value as 160. Okay, fine. Now what is the next step? $160, right? Now we have to select the E such that E is relatively co-prime with this value. Okay, so what is a value which is co-prime with this value? So can we take E as 7? Let's see. GCD of 7 and 160 is 1, right? So we can take this because this is satisfying all the properties. E is less than N. Yes, it is less than even 160. Then E is co-prime with 160. Okay, so we can select E as 7. Okay, let's do this. Now what? We have N, we have E, right? E also we computed, we somehow calculated 7. Okay, we agreed upon. Now we have to compute D. How to compute D? So the formula says E into D mod of phi N is equals to 1. So the value of E is 7. Value of D we have to compute. Value of phi N is 160 and we need 1. Okay. So there are different methods to compute the value of D in this case now. Okay, but the easiest way could be, what we can do is, see, we have to end up with something like 161, or we want this value to be 1, right? So if we get the output of this will be 161, then we will end up in getting 1, right? 161 mod 160 will be 1, right? So somehow we want 7 into D will be 161, or any other value. The value of 7 into D is 321. Will the equation satisfy? The value is 481. Then will the equation satisfy? Okay. And there are infinitely many such values, right? And how I am calculating this value? It is nothing but somehow you have to keep it 1 more than 160. Okay. So if it is 321, I can write 321 as 160 into 2 plus 1. Okay. So mod will take away this iterations, 2 iterations of 160, and we are remaining with the 1. Okay. Am I making somehow satisfy this equation? And it is quite easy, right? So if we go with this equation, what will be the value of D?
Ma'am, 23.
Right? So let's choose D as a 23. Let's go with first equation, but you can solve any of the given equations, okay, or identified equations, and hence you can select your D. So in this case, let's select D to be 23. Okay. So now we have value of N, we have value of 7, and we have value of D as 23. Okay. Now, what is my public key? So public key is 7, 187. And what is the value of my private key? It is 23. Got. So let's first do the enciphering. let's assume that you have a message, let's say 88. Okay, this is a plain text message that you have to send to other end, right? Now, how to encipher it? You have to generate the cipher text against it. So what you will do, you will take the message. You have to use this formula, right? M to the power E. So message to the power E is 7. Mod N. What is the value of N? N is 187. Okay. And what you will get, if you compute this, you will get 11 as an output. Okay. This is the value of cipher text. This becomes your cipher text. Now, you can send this cipher text to the receiving end. At the receiving end, the person can decipher it. Okay. But since public key is used to encipher, private key will be used to decipher. Okay. And vice versa is also true. So let's see, if we take C to the power D mod N, that is 11 to the power 23. 23 is our private key. Mod 187, the output you can compute it through calculator and you will get 88 as an output, which is nothing but the plain text message value which was encrypted. Okay, now as I was telling how actually it is working, right? Where this one-way function and trapdoor is involved, or everything about that. So suppose if I give you the value of okay, so let me take a simple example. 2 to the power n is equals to 16, right? Can you tell me what is the value of n?
Ma'am, 4.
N equal to 4. Yeah, it is easy to compute. But if I write it something like that, 2 to the power n mod 16 is equal to 1. Now it is not at all possible for you to tell me the value of n, exact value of n that I am thinking. Why? Because of this mod function. Okay, you don't know how many time it was wrapped, right? There could be possibly many values involved. Same thing that is happened here, right? Nobody knows. I mean, the state space is too huge. I mean, I don't know where you have selected D, where the D point lies in the picture, right? It is, let me give you a simple example. If I tell you that when I start my work, the clock hand is showing 10 o'clock. Okay, it was 10. And when I finished my work, it was 1 in the clock. Now, if I ask you the question, how many hours I have worked, then there is no answer for this, because you don't know how many times this, hands are rotated. Okay, whether this is, 3 hours, or they are, 20, how many? 24 plus 3, 27 hours or more than that. You don't know how many times this hands are rotated. Okay, and that is what done by mod function. Okay? So there are enormously infinite values of n, and this makes the problem difficult. Okay, so now let's deal with the actual example, and during this example we will see how RSA will help us to achieve confidentiality. Okay, now before that, let me ask you a simple question. So suppose there are two parties, A and B. Okay, now so let me write it like this. So suppose B wants to send a message to A, and we have to maintain the confidentiality of message. Now, from which key we will encrypt and from which key we can decrypt? Yes, B will encrypt using which key? We have to achieve confidentiality. Yes, please.
Ma'am, public key of A.
Public key of A. Okay. So what will happen in that case? How confidentiality will be achieved? Sorry, A. Okay. Yeah. How confidentiality will be achieved?
Ma'am, because since private key can only decrypt the message, so only A can decrypt the message, so confidentiality is maintained.
Right. Very correct. So when we talk about confidentiality, B will encrypt the data using public key of A, and we know that this data which is encrypted using public key of A can only be decrypted by using private key of A, and private key is something which only A possesses. Okay, and hence we can assure the confidentiality of the message. Even there is a eavesdropper in between, let's say E has the access of the encrypted data but does not have private key, does not know the private key of A, and therefore cannot decrypt the data. Okay, and this is how we achieve the confidentiality. So let's see how this example works. So as I told you earlier, whenever you have to deal with RSA, you have to convert the message, you have to encode the message into a mathematical units, right? So here I have used a very simple encoding scheme. So I've represented A as 00, B as 01, C as 02, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, once we encrypt this message and it is divided into the chunks of three letters, right? So we have PUP, PIE, SAR, ESM, and ALL. Okay. So this is the message, and definitely you can use any encoding scheme. Let's not stick to a particular encoding scheme. We just have to convert this into numbers, right? So once we convert this into numbers, okay, so there are these five what you can say numbers that we receive, we get, when we encode this English letters into numbers. Now what you have to do is you have to take uh, uh, each block of data, right? So consider it as one block of data, and then you have to encipher it using public key of Alice. Okay. So what Alice did, Alice take two numbers, P and Q. These are the two large numbers. Then Alice calculated N, and then he calculate quotient value of this N and choose E as this. Okay, and accordingly calculate D, right? Now Bob knows this particular value, the public key. This is the public key. This and this becomes the public key, right? So this and this will be used in the encryption. So basically, Bob is encrypting the data using public key of Alice, right? And this is the output Bob is getting. This will send to Alice, and then Alice use her private key to decipher the data. Okay, and this is how the algorithm works. Now let's see if in place of confidentiality, suppose Alice wants to send a message to Bob in such a way that Bob can verify that this message is coming from A. What to do? So now A is sending data to B, but somehow B has to validate the authenticity of A. Okay, so we are somehow talking about authentication here, authenticating the source. How can we do that? Which are the keys that we can use in this case now? Yes,
Ma'am, A will encrypt using its private key and B will decrypt that message using the public key of A.
right, very correct. So if you want to achieve authentication, what A can do, A can use his private key to decrypt, to encrypt the data. Okay, whereas B can use public key of A to decrypt the data. If the data is decrypted, B can validate that yes, this particular data will be encrypted using private key of A, and since the private key only owner have the access, therefore we can validate the authenticity of the source. Got the idea? So this is what is done. So what Alice do? Alice will encipher the data using his private key, right? So if you remember from the last slide, the value of private is 95857. So he will encipher using these values, send the data to Bob, and then Bob uses Li's public key to decipher it and can validate it. Okay, but in this case, confidentiality is not achieved. Why confidentiality is not achieved? Because the data which is sent by A could be decrypted using public key of A, and public key of A, everyone has public key of A. Okay, so confidentiality is not achieved. Whereas in the previous case, integrity is not achieved. Although you are encrypting the data using public key of the receiver, okay, but who is sending this data, you don't know. Everybody has access of the public key, right? So anybody can encrypt the data using my public key and send it to me. How can I authenticate the source? Okay, so this is how you can attain confidentiality, and this is how you can attain integrity or authentication. Question here could be, ma'am, what can we do if we want both the things? We want confidentiality and the integrity or authentication at the same time, right? So there are ways to do that. You have to do double encryption, right? So suppose you are the sender of the data, okay, and you want to achieve both integrity as well as authenticity. I mean, confidentiality as well as authenticity, right? So now please pay attention here. For confidentiality, what we will do? For confidentiality, we will encrypt using public key of sender, right? If we encrypt using public key of sender, then confidentiality is achieved. Why? Because only sender can decrypt it using his private key. Okay. And if you want to achieve integrity, you will encrypt using private, not sender, sorry, receiver, right? If you want to achieve confidentiality, okay, so let me repeat this part. If you want to achieve confidentiality, what you have to do? You have to use public key of receiver, so that the receiver is the only person who can decrypt the data, and hence you can achieve confidentiality, right? I am writing C for confidentiality. So this is what you have to do to achieve confidentiality. What you have to do to achieve integrity? You have to encrypt with the private key of sender, so that anybody could decrypt it using public key of sender and can know that yes, this is coming from an authenticated source. Okay, so this is what we need to do for integration or integrity or authentication, right? So this is for authentication. Now, can we achieve both? Yes, we can achieve both. So what we can do is, we can take the data, okay, just take the data, first encrypt it using private key of the sender. Okay, why private key? So first we will maintain the integrity. Let's maintain the integrity of the data. Okay, so encrypt it using private key of the sender, and then the entire data, whatever is written, okay, encrypt it using public key of receiver. Okay, so this is how you can do. Okay, the inside is private key of sender. You have to encode it with your private key, so that at the receiver end, the person can decrypt the data using your public key and can confirm the authenticity. And the outer layer, this data you have to protect from the eavesdropper. Why you have to protect? Because public key access is to everyone, right? So the entire message will be encrypted using public key of receiver, so that only the receiver can decrypt this entire text. Okay, so after this particular text will be considered as a message, and it is encrypted using public key of receiver. Okay, so if you see here, Bob will choose this as a public key, and this is the private key corresponding to Bob. Okay, and the value of n is say same, right? So then there is an encryption using public key of Bob, right? So whatever data we receive, we will send the data to Bob. Okay, and this is how we can achieve authenticity as well as confidentiality at the sending time. Any questions here? Yes, any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now what to do at the receiving side? First, what we have to apply? We just have to do the reverse, right? You have this particular text. This is the ciphertext. Now what to do? First, what to do? So the outer layer is encrypted using public key of receiver. So first you have to use private key to decrypt this entire message to get this particular message. Yes? Okay. So here we will use private key of the receiver. In encryption or sending, we use public key of receiver. Now you have to use private key of receiver. That is 235457. Okay. This is used first, and whatever is the output, then public key of sender will be used. Okay, this is the public key of sender 154993. This one. Okay, and this is how we can achieve both both of the things, confidentiality as well as the authenticity. Let's take a deeper look into the security services that are provided by this algorithm, specifically RSA algorithm. Let's talk about. So first security service that we got is confidentiality. How we are achieving confidentiality? Because only the owner of the private key knows it. So the text which is enciphered with the public key cannot be read by anybody else. Okay, if the thing is enciphered with public key, it can be opened only with its corresponding private key, which is with the owner, and hence we can achieve confidentiality. We can achieve authentication. How? Because only owner of the private key knows it, right? So if the text is enciphered with private key, we know that this is coming from a genuine sender, or the sender who he claims to be. Okay, because private key is only with the sender, nobody else, right? So this is how we can achieve authentication. We can achieve integrity. How? Because the enciphered letters cannot be changed, okay, without knowing the private key. Therefore, integrity is maintained. If you cannot access the ciphertext, you cannot change the ciphertext, right? So this is how integrity is maintained. We have learned about one important requirement, fundamental requirement, which is non-repudiation, right? So repudiation means you can deny the act that you did. Okay, so if you send a message, you can deny later. So we can achieve non-repudiation as well using RSA. How? Because if the message is enciphered with the public key, came from someone who knew it. Okay, otherwise if you are not send it, then it should not come. Okay, so this is how we can achieve non-repudiation as well, right? So these are the 4 important security services that are provided by RSA algorithm.